guys, and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is, of course, Cameron, and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Friday, the sun is still shining. I hope you all have had a fantastic week and are looking forward to, obviously, the weekend. It's mad windy outside today for some reason. I've just went outside to get a bottle of water from the fridge in the shed, and I've just nearly been blown into next door, so it's a little bit windy, but anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about sponsorships. As you know, we spoke on Wednesday about Everton's new partnership with Danish brand Hummel. Hummel will be manufacturing Everton's kits and training gear, etc. for the next 3 years, as we signed a 3-year contract with them, worth between £8 and £10 million a year, which is actually double the deal that we had with Umbro. We're here to talk about sponsorships today because, according to the Liverpool Echo, Everton have announced that talks, well, they haven't announced it, the Echo reporting that talks with Rovio Entertainment over the renewal of the Angry Birds sleeve sponsorship have stopped. Everton are now locked in with other potential new sleeve sponsors. Now, this obviously is quite big news because, again, like we said, it come off the back of Wednesday's announcement that Everton are now partnered with Hummel, and Hummel will be the new kit manufacturer going forward. And there's been discussions consistently over the last sort of few months or so, even prior to Carlo Ancelotti coming into the club, as to whether Everton would continue their partnership with Umbro. We did sign sort of an extension to the contract that we currently had with Umbro for a long term. However, that contract actually had in it that if we were to receive a better deal, more financially, a better financial deal, from a different brand, we could move to them without any issues and any complications. And that's obviously what's happened with Hummel. We know that Everton will be ending their partnership with betting company Sport Pisa at the end of this current season as well. That was announced a few months back. Denise Barrett-Baxendale stated that she thanks Sport Pisa for all their work, but we will be ending the partnership with them at the end of the current season. So we know we're looking for a new main shirt sponsor. Obviously, we had the rumours a few weeks back about Mike Tyson's cannabis company potentially being interested and in talks with the football club. We haven't heard any more on that since. But we know we're looking for a new main shirt sponsor. We know we're looking for a new main club sponsor. And we obviously know now that we'll have a new kit manufacturer going forward. And now, according to the Liverpool Echo, we're also going to be looking for a new sleeve sponsor. We're going to be doing a complete overhaul of the kit, complete overhaul in terms of sponsorships and manufacture. And we're going to be coming into this new season looking fresh with a complete new style of kit made by a different brand, sponsored by a different company, and obviously leading into Carlo Ancelotti's first full season with Everton Football Club. Now, again, I'm quite happy with this. I think a lot of people were quite excited by the rumour and the report by the Liverpool Echo was to state that Angry Birds, the deal with Angry Birds and their creators will not be renewed. I think Angry Birds is a sponsor that is stuck in a lot of people's throats since it was announced a couple of years ago, and I think that's purely just because of the way it looks on the shirt, and obviously the big massive Angry Birds logo. Hang on, which way am I turning? There it is, the big massive Angry Birds logo on the side of the arm there. It doesn't look great, and obviously Everton originally signed quite a good deal financial wise with Angry Birds, but obviously it's looking now that we're looking elsewhere, and we've stopped the talks to renew the deal, and we're actually going to look elsewhere for a new sleeve sponsor. So Everton could be going into the new Premier League season with a new sleeve sponsor, as well as we already know we're going to be going into the new season with a new kit manufacturer and obviously a new main shirt sponsor as well. Who those sponsors will be, we don't know. There's been nothing more sort of after the Mike Tyson rumours and the Swiss X rumours. There was nothing more really about potential shirt sponsors, main shirt sponsors, obviously across the front there to replace Sport Pisa. NEC has been one that's come up. Obviously Megaphone and USM and the links with Alisher Usmanov have continued to sort of prop up every now and then whenever you mention sponsorships. And again, very, very similar to the sleeve sponsorships as well. We haven't had any, clear rumours or bits of information as to state that there's one brand or there's one company or there's one there's one partner that are looking like they're going to be the new sponsor for next season. It's just brief rumours here and there. So it's a really interesting bit of information, and it's definitely something worth talking about, obviously off the back of the announcement on Wednesday that we'll be joining up with Hummel. Officially the Premier League season would have finished by now. Obviously we know that Everton stated that we will still play in the current home, away and third kit for the remainder of the Premier League season if it is still to return. So even though next season's kits are going to be manufactured by Hummel, we'll still be playing in the Umbro 2019-20 kit with Sport Pizza across the top and Angry Birds on the arm. However, it will be really, really interesting to see if Everton announce any, sponsorship deals within the next couple of weeks, obviously off the back of the Hummel deal. So let me know your thoughts on that one in the comment section down below. Listen, did you like the deal with Angry Birds? Are you sad to see them go? If they do go, will you be happy to get, a new sponsor on the arm? And if so, who would you like to sponsor Everton's, sleeve? Who would you like to be the sleeve sponsor? Obviously, sleeve sponsors are a very, very new thing in football. It was only 4 years ago where sleeve sponsors didn't exist, and both arms had the Premier League badge, and that was it. The only sort of main sponsor you had that was featured on your shirt in the Premier League was obviously the main sponsor across the bottom. Everton's was Chang for a long time. And then obviously the season that Everton began with Sport Pizza, we also began our partnership with Angry Birds as well. And you see, I think pretty much every Premier League team now, a lot of Premier League teams have got the sleeve sponsorships as well, as to just get another company basically promoted on your top and another company to feed you loads of money as well. So I think it's really, really interesting. I think as long as Everton go with the best deal financial wise for the football club, as well as hopefully a brand that looks quite decent on the kit, looks slick, looks quite classy as well. Because I think that's the problem that we had with Angry Birds, is that, okay, financially the deal might have been, decent for the football club and it might have worked. However, it didn't really take well with the fans, and it doesn't look fantastic on the arm, and it's a big, brand logo, and it's a big massive logo, obviously, that takes up the whole of the arm. So I think, maybe we can get something a little bit smaller, a little bit more classy, a little bit, that suits the new kit a little bit, then obviously I'll be massively, massively happy with that one. But financial talks and the financial deals and stuff, obviously they come into place massively. And again, financial wise, it is something that I think it's really, really interesting to think about and talk about, because obviously Everton announced that the deal with Hummel will be a club record deal between £8 and £10 million a year for 3 years, which means we should pick up around about 30 odd million pounds from the deal, of course, unless it gets renewed or for whatever reason it gets cut short. But it should be around £30 million, which is Everton's club record deal for the kit manufacturer. Obviously we've had Umbro in the past, we've had Puma in the past, we've had Nike in the past. It sums all of those by quite some amount as well. As we said, it's double or in and around about double the current deal with Umbro. And I had a little look at a screenshot, and I'm not too sure how reliable the screenshot is, or how true the information is within the screenshot. But a lot of people, when the Hummel deal got announced and it was rumoured or it was stated that it'll be between £8 and £10 million a year, a lot of people were sort of comparing us to your Man Uniteds or your Chelseas or your Liverpools or your Cities, who were in these kit manufacturing deals with these companies like Nike and Puma and Adidas, and they're worth like 80, 90 million, 50, 60 million. And looking at this piece of information that I looked at, and like I said, again, I don't know it off by heart. I tried to find the picture yesterday for the scene, but I couldn't find it, and I also don't know how true it is. But it seems like there's 5 or 6 clubs at the top who have deals with their manufacturers for say 50, 60, 70 million. Liverpool with Nike obviously coming up, Manchester United with Nike, Chelsea with Nike as well. Sorry, Man United with Adidas, Chelsea with Nike as well. Tottenham and Manchester City with Puma, of course. They all have deals that are worth £50+ million a year, and then there's quite a significant drop. I think Everton's the Hummel deal sits somewhere like 6th or 7th in the top deals for kit manufacturers in England. I think we're above Wolves, who are at Adidas, we're above Watford with Adidas, we're above Brighton, who are Nike, I believe. So we're above the sides that are sponsored, some sides that are sponsored by, that are in partner with the likes of Nike and Adidas that manufacture their kits. And this was part of the big conversation that we had on Wednesday, is that just because we may get a deal with Nike, or just because we may get a deal with Adidas, doesn't mean that they would be paying us more than what Hummel had offered, and also doesn't mean, and in fact I can almost guarantee, we would not be a priority in those companies' eyes. We would just be another team that, again, another sort of generic shirt with our badge on it that you could buy from Sports Direct for a tenner and buy a badge and stitch it on, and it'd cost you a lot less than what you buy it in the club shop. We wouldn't be a priority with Nike, we wouldn't be a priority with Adidas, whereas with Hummel we seem to be a real priority. And again, just sort of to go off the back of the conversations that we had on Wednesday. Again, obviously this is talking about the sleeve sponsor with Angry Birds, and the fact that we're not looking to renew that sponsor, and we're actually looking to find a different sleeve sponsor, which I think is really, really interesting as well for the future. If you're enjoying the live stream, by the way, please do hit that like button. It means a massive, massive amount to me. I'm just going to tweet the stream out so everybody knows that we are live. I believe there's currently around 20 people watching. My YouTube's froze again, so it says there's 6 and only 2 likes, so I'll give it a little bit of a refresh in just a second once I dive into the live comments, and obviously make sure that the comments don't disappear because of that. But if you're in the live comments, if you're watching live, get your thoughts in, of course, and we'll be going through them. And if you're enjoying the stream so far, please do hit the like button. The next big bit of information that has been announced sort of over the last couple of days or so is that, according to Spanish publication Sport, Everton apparently are now in pole position to land Barcelona centre-back Jean-Claire Todibo. Now, this obviously comes after the announcement about a week ago that stated that Everton had bid £20 million for Todibo, and although Barcelona kind of liked the offer and were looking to accept the offer, they were also looking to hold out for maybe a better and more lucrative deal from somebody else. However, the latest on that story, coming from Sport, which of course is a Spanish publication, states that Everton are in pole position to sign the player, and it actually it coincides with the story that I've just read a couple of minutes ago, which stated that Napoli apparently are now in pole position to sign Brazilian centre-half Gabriel. We've obviously been massively linked with Gabriel over the last sort of couple of weeks, months or so, due to the fact that we're quite openly out there looking for the centre-half. There was very, very strong links with Gabriel and Everton. There was even a point where some journalists were stating that we'd bid £30 million for him, and that bid had been accepted, and the player had even had his medical at Everton Football Club. Obviously that all turned out to just be paper talk. It's now the latest rumour is now that Napoli are in pole position to sign Gabriel, and Everton have seemed to have switched their focus over to Jean-Claire Todibo, and it looks like we're now in pole position to sign him. We've talked about him, of course, a lot more on the Talking Rubbish transfer show on Monday, so don't forget to join us for that one. I think it's really, really interesting. Obviously, I think a lot of us will have watched Todibo last weekend for Schalke. Listen, he didn't have the greatest game, did he? Let's be perfectly honest. Schalke got absolutely demolished 4-0 by Borussia Dortmund. Todibo played the first 45 minutes of that game and he wasn't fantastic. However, he wasn't massively at fault for a lot of the goals. He was a little bit slow, he was a little bit sluggish, but it's the first game back, since the lockdown has been eased and since football has returned in any capacity in Europe. So I'm not really going to judge him too much on that game. In the same reason as why I won't really judge John Joe Kenny off the back of that game as well, but I probably will be keeping a close eye on Todibo going forward and seeing how he improves and seeing how he settles as a player, because it looks like Everton may switch their focus to bringing him in now as opposed to Brazilian defender Gabriel. We'll dive into the live comments in just a second. I just want to go on to another story before we get into them, and that is regarding Gylfi Sigurdsson. Gylfi Sigurdsson has had an interview today. He spoke about the return of football. He spoke about how he personally feels about it. He spoke about atmospheres as well. He said that he believes that basically the fans are everything to a football club's atmosphere, and he says that it will be a little bit difficult to play without the fans in the stadium. But one point I specifically want to delve into and to discuss was that Gylfi Sigurdsson was asked about player fitness and how long he thinks that players are going to have to take in order to get back to the match fitness that we're used to and that they're used to getting well in the swing of a Premier League season. And Gylfi Sigurdsson said that he believes it'll take around 3 weeks for the players from their return to training to become match fit. Now again, I don't think, obviously we heard and we know factually that Everton returned to training this Wednesday just gone. Certain players returned in small groups. Carlo Ancelotti returned and players began the sort of return to football and return to training in, obviously off the basis that the Premier League will return shortly. Again, I mentioned it yesterday on Wednesday, sorry. I think we're only a couple of weeks away now from a Premier League return. I really, really do. I think for the players to be coming back to training, for the Premier League to instruct teams to return to training, I think it's very, very clear that they're looking to bring the Premier League back shortly, and I think it will be within the next couple of weeks or so. Gylfi Sigurdsson has stated that players will need around 3 weeks or so, or he believes players will need around 3 weeks or so to return to full match fitness, and I don't know whether players are going to get that time. I don't know whether players are going to get 3 weeks of full training that they used to in order to regain that match fitness. I fully expect the first set of Premier League fixtures to go a little bit similar to the first set of Bundesliga fixtures last week, where we're seeing sluggish performances and where we're seeing players not be able to keep up with the game and struggle a little bit fitness-wise. But it's interesting, obviously, to hear from a footballer's mouth himself as to state that he believes it will be around about 3 weeks for the players to, to be able to regain their fitness. And again, even then, they mightn't be as fit as they probably were prior to the suspension of the league, and obviously as they would usually be, in sort of April, May time in a Premier League season coming towards the end of the season. So obviously that's really, really interesting. We have got one more thing that I want to talk about, but I'm going to get into the live comments to see how everybody is doing. Wayne says, huge shortfall with shirt sponsorship deals expected to become far less lucrative due to coronavirus, and bottom half sides could be left in financial ruin if deals are significantly slashed. Yeah, again, going through that list, and again, I don't know how true it was or how factual or how accurate the figures were, but going through that list just briefly, there's a lot of teams in that list that are sponsored by your Adidas's, your Nikes, your Pumas, your Umbros, that are getting, £5 million a year for their kit sponsorships. Just because Liverpool might be getting £80 million from Nike, or Man City might be getting £70 million from Puma, doesn't mean that Bournemouth and Watford and Wolves and Brighton are getting those type of figures, because they're really, really not. And that's ultimately why Everton chose to go for Hummel, because I think for a couple of reasons. One, because they were the best deal, and they were willing to give us the most money, and obviously it's a club record deal. And two, because we would be their main priority, would be the only Premier League club, would be their biggest club, that their biggest customer by a country mile. So therefore, there's more of a chance that they'll put a lot of work and a lot of design effort and a lot of thought into our products and our kits ultimately going forward for the next 3 years, as opposed to signing with a Nike who would get less money with, and they'd probably just give us a generic sort of kit that they'd made for 50 other teams in world football. And I think the fact that some people might say, you're with Hummel, or well, you're with Nike, I don't really think that comes into play when you're talking about financial deals, and when you're talking about brands being able to connect with the football club and actually listen to the football club and what they want in their products. Eugene says Everton in negotiations to sign Rabiot. Yeah, again, I read another little story. We're not going to talk too much about it today, but I read another little story that stated that Carlo Ancelotti is a fan of Rabiot and actually may, go for the move and may favour the move. Again, there's still a lot of rumours surrounding Rabiot and whether or not he'll be a Juventus player come the summer, and whether his destination will be the Premier League, we'll have to wait and see. Wayne says, just goes to show why that was an excellent bit of business the other day. Exactly, he says, Everton is second to none off the pitch in business in the community. We only failed to exploit the US market when we had Donovan and Howard, but we built a fair fan base. Yeah, we did, and listen, we've failed to exploit multiple markets over the years, and I think that's something that we massively need to look at going forward. The American one was ridiculous. The fact that we didn't take advantage of having Tim Howard, especially after that season and that World Cup in 2014, when we could have massively exploited that, but we didn't. And there's been other situations as well. We could have done it with the Belgian market, with Romelu Lukaku, when he was absolutely on fire. Hopefully we start to delve into the Brazilian market a little bit more as well with Richarlison, but you're spot on. Ewan says Ancelotti wants Everton, but Blues must pay big fare. I'm not too sure what that means, because obviously he's at Everton. He also says, did you see Carlo Ancelotti's interview on Sky Sports today? I did. We're going to talk about Carlo Ancelotti's interview in just a second. He also says Ancelotti and Everton's goals to get to the top. Yeah, he said that he returned to the Premier League to manage a football club that have got big, high, hopes and big goals to reach, and that's ultimately why he was attracted to Everton Football Club. Ethan says Gabriel or Todibo. I probably prefer Gabriel if you were to ask me for the pair of them, but I don't think we'll sign Gabriel. I think Gabriel is probably gonna go to a Napoli or another Italian team. Sorry. Wayne says Gabriel, but we won't get him. There you go. Wants to go to a team in Europe and the top of the league. Ain't happening. Fair point. Eugene says Everton new away kit for the 2021 season is white and blue. I don't think it will be, mate. In fact, I pretty much guarantee it won't be. Wayne says should never have had Angry Birds as a sponsor just because of the name. There you go. And I think it was a lot because of the name and also because of the deal. Listen, it was a fairly decent deal. I think it was something like £13 million a year or something like that. I could be mistaken there. Don't get me wrong. But, listen, obviously Everton aren't looking to renew that partnership, and for me that tells me one thing and one thing only, and that is that Everton have found a deal with somebody else that are willing to pay more money. So there you go. We'll look forward to obviously getting more information on that within the next coming weeks. Where are we? Eugene says Everton new sponsor could be USM on the sleeve. It could be. Wayne says fuck off, Copite should be the sponsor. Wayne says everybody 24 and 45 7 likes. I'll have to refresh in just a second. If you're watching and you're enjoying, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. I believe we're only 6 subscribers away from 1,750 as well. So if you haven't subscribed, please do hit that subscribe button. It means an absolute massive amount to me. If you have subscribed, share the channel, share the live streams. Let's get as many people involved as possible. I really, really do appreciate all of your support. Wayne says think Todibo is about the same. Only Gabriel was naturally left-sided. It is naturally left-sided. Fair point. Wayne says, lose our comments again, mate. You'll be in trouble. This is why you have the best Everton fan channel. You interact with your fan base. Thank you very much. Really do appreciate that. I'm not going to lose them, mate. I'm going to get through them all before I refresh the scenes to make sure that I don't lose them. David says, Gylfi found it difficult to play full stop. Well, again, it's ironic, isn't it? Because I was watching that interview and I heard Gylfi Sigurdsson say, you know, it's going to take us around 3 weeks to get back to fitness. And I had a little bit of a chuckle to myself because I thought, hell, we've been playing for about 9 months and you haven't been fit for any of the months. So it's probably going to take you a little bit longer, mate. But, you know, listen, again, I don't want to set out the pitchforks for Gylfi Sigurdsson. I think it's important that he gets as big of an opportunity as anybody does under Carlo Ancelotti, and if he doesn't perform, then ultimately he leaves the football club, and he hasn't performed so far, but maybe this break was what he needed. Dave says, Gylfi found it difficult to play full stop. Wayne says, don't tell Michael Dido, I tell him he's the best. You can't be doing that. You can't be doing that, Wayne. Eugene says, the new Everton kids is on the Footy Headlines website. Yeah, but they just throw up any old mock-up, don't they? I won't believe it until I see it officially from Everton's site or Hummel's site. Raimi says, I got all excited then, thought you were going to say Gylfi had an interview and said he was pissing off to South America to fulfill his team of being Dora the Explorer. No, not quite, mate, not quite. And he said USM would love Boss on the sleeve and I'd love Megaphone on the front. Well, again, that's the concept, isn't it? That's the ideal concept, that would have, the badge and then Hummel, the badge, then Hummel, and then, USM across the front and Megaphone on the sleeve, or Megaphone across the front and USM on the sleeve. And when, even 3 or 4 months ago, before we even announced that we'd be ending our partnership with Sport Peas, and of course before the Hummel deal was announced, there was kick concepts getting thrown about left, right and centre with, USM, Megaphone and Hummel included. So, maybe that is something we'll look towards. I wouldn't be surprised if an Alisher Usmanov company was involved. However, we'll have to wait and see. William says, Rabiot could be good. He likes to get forward. From what I've seen, we should put Gylfi in the basement with Matt Making Kid. Yeah, listen, Rabiot probably... he would be a good addition in terms of his ability and his quality. His attitudes obviously would still be in question, but again, I suppose you can't judge a player on his attitude until he comes in and shows that he's got a bad attitude for Everton Football Club. Obviously, every player has to get their opportunity. Anyway, moving on briefly, 29 people currently watching. Big thanks for all of the support. It means an absolute massive amount to me. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Leave a like on the live stream as well. It really, really does mean a massive amount. Gord says, I just hope the shirt sponsor isn't a betting company. Well, hopefully, mate. Hopefully, but, again, I think football teams just are trying to sort of phase out betting companies in the sponsorships, obviously, because again it means that you can't have the sponsorship deals on the kids kits, and ultimately that isn't ideal. But I think that was probably one of the reasons as to why we chose to get rid of Sport Pizzas, because of that reason. Wayne says, do you have a younger bro? Was thinking with the bunk bed. No, it's actually a double bunk bed, and underneath it's the couch. You'll probably see it if you watch the video on Wednesday where I put off the brief sort of Hummel announcement video. That's the couch that I was sitting on. It's basically, I've got a double bed in a bunk style because I couldn't have a double bed on the floor because there wasn't enough room, and I've got a couch underneath it, which ultimately means that I can sit down and film some semi-professional looking videos because it's on a couch with an Everton frame behind it. Yeah, there you go. William says, probably the way Gylfi figures it though, only need 3 weeks to get fit enough to stand about pointing at stuff. Maybe. Anyway, moving on to the last thing I want to talk about today, and that is Carlo Ancelotti. Carlo Ancelotti had an interview today with Jamie Carragher and Sky Sports. He spoke a lot about the ambitions of the football club and the fact that he returned to England in order to, embrace those ambitions and ultimately to help Everton get back to the top. He spoke previously about the fact that he's watched Howard's Way, and he really, really enjoyed it, and it was fantastic to see the connection that the fans had with that team, and he also wishes that he can become as good of a manager as Howard Kendall was for Everton. Briefly on Howard Kendall, it would have been Howard Kendall's 74th birthday today, or it is Howard Kendall's 74th birthday, so of course, one of the best players to ever wear the Everton shirt, an absolute Everton legend, the man that I adore as an Evertonian, despite the fact I didn't see him play, despite the fact I never seen a Howard Kendall Everton team or out an Everton team managed by our Kendall. I absolutely adore the bloke because of how much Everton meant to him and how good he was for Everton Football Club. So obviously, you know, he'll never be forgotten, an icon, an absolute Everton legend, and I hope that he's up there looking down on this Everton currently and smiling at the fact that we've got a bright future ahead of us with Carlo Ancelotti. So a massive happy 74th birthday to Howard Kendall, of course. But amongst that, Carlo Ancelotti, spoke about a lot of things. He spoke about his love for Money Heist, the Netflix series, and the fact that he's currently waiting for season 5. And he also spoke about the fact that he loves bike riding, and he said he's currently living out in Crosby. Probably not the best to share that information, considering Richarlison shared the information that he lived out in Crosby a few months back, so a lot of Evertonians will probably now be heading to Crosby Beach to try and find Ancelotti and Richarlison. But he spoke about the fact that he lives out in Crosby and he's really, really enjoying the bike rides from Crosby to Southport. He said that there's a very good bike route there, and he's enjoying doing them, you know, quite often. So it was a quite informal, really, really nice to see. Really, really nice to hear the interview from Carlo Ancelotti. There was a point where he was interrupted by his dog, and he had to ask a question again because the dog was in the background barking, and you had his wife or his daughter, I think it was his wife, going round trying to pick the dog up to get him out the way of the interview. But look, Carlo, as we all know, is a genuinely really, really nice bloke, down to earth bloke, and not only that, he's an absolute icon in football. He's a fantastic manager, one of the best managers to ever grace the football, and you know, generally, you know, he seems happy to sit down and talk about, you know, his career and obviously his future with Everton Football Club to anybody. And it was a really, really insightful and fantastic interview, and if you haven't seen it, I do suggest going over and checking that out. Gut says happy birthday to the late great Howard Kendall. Yes, of course. And Eugene says Blue Family Lockdown sessions Friday the 22nd of May, 8 o'clock tonight, and see you by up the toffees. Thank you very much. That is going to do it for today's live stream. If you have enjoyed, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel as well, don't forget to subscribe. Listen, we'll be back on Monday, 5:15 PM for the Talking Rubbish Transfer Show. As per usual, we'll sit down. We'll talk more about Jean-Claude Todibo. We'll talk more about Adrien Rabiot as well as other rumours players that we've been linked with over the last week or so. So don't forget to join us 5:15 PM for that one. Thank you all very, very much for the support. I massively, massively appreciate everybody that got involved in today's live stream and everybody that gets involved in all of the live streams and all of the videos that we put up. If you've enjoyed, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. Like we said, so close to 1,750 subscribers now. So if you haven't subscribed, please do so using the button down below. And if you have subscribed, get the video shared, get the channel shared. Let's try and get as many people in here as possible. Let's try and get as many people interacting with the channel as possible. Don't forget, like I said, we'll be back 5:15 PM Monday for the Talking Rubbish Transfer Show. Remy says, anyone watch that Chicago Bulls doc on Netflix? I haven't yet, mate, but I'm definitely looking to watch it. He also says, take care, guys. See you next time, Jess, and stay safe, everyone. Thank you very much. Stay safe, of course, and I'll see you on Monday. Like I said, don't forget to join us on Monday. Big thanks to everybody for getting involved in the live comments as per usual. If you're watching as a YouTube video, leave your comments down below and I'll get involved with as many of them as possible. Big thanks for watching. Leave a like if you've enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.